economist and chairman of Laffer Associates. My next guest has also been waiting patiently. He was on a call yesterday with the president about his tax plan. Walk over with me to let me show you what his area of interest is. The topic on my next guest's mind is this: the prison system. What's wrong with the U.S. prison system? The number of men and women who end up in them has been a hot-button issue for decades. Republican Congressman Doug Collins has introduced the Prison Reform and Redemption Act to determine ways to lower the rate of repeat offenders. I want to, just before I get to him, he's standing by. Let's just see. He's there, right? Yeah, let's take a look at the congressman standing by. Bring him in. There we go. Thank you, Congressman, for waiting. Let me just show my viewers what's going on here. First off, the United States leads the world in incarceration rates when compared to every other country in the world. This is the rate of incarceration per 100,000 citizens. Look at this. We're way ahead of Russia, Rwanda, Brazil, Australia, and all the other developed countries. This is a big problem. About 2.3 million Americans are locked up. 8% of those are in federal prisons. 28% are in local jails. About 60% are in state prisons. About 2% are youth. 1 out of 5 of all of our prisoners is in jail because of drugs, which greatly dominates on the federal level. But there's also another component to the prison issue, and that is the rise of private prisons to offset the overcrowding in government-run prisons. IBIS World released a report last November showing that the revenue for all these private facilities and services amounted to $5 billion with an annual growth rate of 1.5%. This is private prisons. One example of the repercussions of privatizing these facilities are corruption scandals. In 2007, this is just one example, in 2007, children were being tossed into a for-profit youth center, various ones actually, in Pennsylvania, in a kickback scheme that was dubbed Kids for Cash. When looking at the overall recidivism rate among released prisoners, the rate of return to crime in prison, the Bureau of Justice Statistics found that 68% of people released from prison were rearrested within 3 years. 77% were rearrested within 5 years. Joining me now, man who's been waiting patiently, Republican Congressman Doug Collins is a member of the House Rules and Judiciary Committees. Congressman, you're not trying to solve the whole problem, but you're certainly trying to solve this problem of recidivism. Too many Americans go to jail, and way too many of them come out with what looks like a boomerang back to jail.
Well, that's right, Ali. You've hit on the problem. And one of the things, another statistic I want to throw out to you is that 95% of the people we put into jails or prison are going to come home eventually. And what our problem is right now, what my Redemption Act tries to look at, is let's start at the beginning of the sentence. Let's start when they go into the Bureau of Prisons, and let's begin a plan. Let's begin a process in which they can buy into to say, what are the skills lacking? What are the issues that I have? It may be addiction. It may be mental health. It may be other issues that lack the skills so that when they're in the communities, they can be profitable folks. But I think I want to, aside from all the statistics, let's because it's easy to get lost here.
Yep.
These are people. For me, this is a money and a moral issue.
Yep.
It's something that we can look at from, instead of spending a lot of money to keep somebody locked up, let's put also the emphasis on the moral aspect that they are coming home. These are sons and daughters that have places in our community and are valued citizens. What we're trying to do is say, let's do a plan that actually lets them buy into something that when they get out or get closer to the time of release, they can go to a halfway house, they can obtain skills so that they can go back home with more than just a bus ticket and no hope. We're looking to say, let's find a place where they can find a job and a hope and have a community that welcomes them. This is everybody's job, not just the government.
Congressman, that seems to be a good sell. It should be able to appeal to people on both sides of the aisle. Are you getting, I know there's a bill before the Senate as well, are you getting bipartisan pickup on this conversation?
Yes, we are. Hakeem Jeffries is a good friend of mine. We are very different politically on a lot of issues, but on this issue, we see eye to eye, and he is, and a lot of others have picked up from on both sides of the aisle. If you look at our bill, John Conyers, Sheila Jackson Lee, our side of the House, we have a lot of folks on bipartisan issue here because we understand what this does to communities and families. And when you put people first, and when you also look at it from a monetary perspective, it's a conservative issue. Some of the most conservative states in the country have enacted criminal justice reforms that have actually emptied their prisons and saved money while at the same time not seeing their recidivism rise in this. So I think we got something to work on.
Yeah, if you're a fiscal conservative, spending too much money on too many people in prison isn't a good one. Congressman, I'm sorry our time got squeezed. I do appreciate it. Can you come back and we can have more of this conversation?
Ali, I'd love to come back. You just have me.
Congressman Doug Collins from Georgia, thank you so much for joining us.